You getting an audio check off of the computer also? Yeah. Okay.
He grew up in Glendale and has lived all over the state of Arizona. He won a 2017 Associated Press Award and 2018 Rock Mountain Emmy for his down. Oh. Do you want me to count down? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Cool. For his story, Common Ground, here.
Guys, if you have any questions, like, don't wait. Just like raise your hand. I'm not picky. I don't care. Ask me a question, whatever. Sure, whatever. Till he says, like, stand by, go for it.
Television Arts and Science. Thank you to the Centennial team
Arizona State.
from the Peoria
Cronkite School. Cronkite School of Journalism.
Hello and welcome.
Yep.
Hello and welcome everyone.
Ironically,
to
well,
Centennial High School.
what's that?
My name is Julie Reyes.
Oh my God. Does anybody know where Springerville, Arizona is? No? Blank looks? That's exactly what I thought. Round Valley High School. I'm 4 hours away from here. Almost to New Mexico. Yeah. Greer, anybody? Sholo? Sholo? Keep going 45 more minutes, and then that's where you hit my high school. If it helps, my high school was hit by a plane in 2010. It actually burned down. It's very weird.
Broadcasting network for providing today's stream and coverage. Without further ado, today's guest, William Pitt, is from News Channel 12. Good morning. Hello and welcome everyone to Centennial High School. My name is Julia and I am an advanced film and TV student here at Centennial. We are happy to host the first ever Learn and Lunch brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Southwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Thank you to the Centennial interns from the Peoria Student Broadcasting Network for providing today's stream and coverage. Without further ado, today's guest, William Pitt, is from News Channel 12. He got into his career of journalism at the age of 15 when he was hired as a teen reporter for the Apache County Observer. He was quickly promoted to senior staff reporter and supervised a staff of 15. He grew up in Glendale and has lived all over the state of Arizona. He won a 2017 Associated Press Award and a 2018 Rock Mountain Emmy for his story, Common Ground. Here to tell you more, please give a warm welcome to Mr. William Pitts.
Thank you. We'll put that over there. That's all right. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, that's, as she said, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, I started in this business when I was your age, maybe a little younger than some of you in this audience, which is kind of intimidating, honestly. I was 15. I lived in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, where you could be hired to be a reporter when you were 15 and nobody really cared. You could drive at 15 because everybody knew you anyway. I started out in print, transitioned to radio when I was in college, and then went to TV right after college. So I've been doing this 17, almost 20 years, which makes me seem really, really old. It makes me feel really, really old when I realize I've been doing this longer than some of you have been alive. This little montage that I've been playing up here, as you guys in this audience have been watching, this is just a collection of some of the fun, cool stuff that I have done. I am an anchor, I'm a reporter, I am a one-man band, I'm the chief drone pilot over at Channel 12. We are kind of unique at Channel 12 in that every single one of us can do everything. We can report, we can write, we shoot, we edit, well, not all of us fly, but some of us fly. We can do a little bit of everything, and that's how we've trained ourselves at Channel 12. So we're all interchangeable, we can all do anything, it gives us incredible flexibility. So in my job, what do? I go cool places, I do cool things, I tell cool stories to tell you what's happening. It's basically how you can break down every story that I have ever done. It's either something cool, it's in some kind of place where I want to show you, it is a really good story, or it's I need to tell you what's going on, and it's something that you need to know. So let's start with cool places and cool stuff. This is going to be really quick because I don't like to talk about myself all this much. This is just a quick collection of some stuff that I have done. My dust storm, which made me sort of famous on NBC when they made fun of me for being trapped in a dust cloud. the set of The Voice. I've stood on the 16th hole at the Phoenix Open, which was really cool. I've flown in a Chinook helicopter in Oregon. Please ignore how young I look in that picture. Played with flamethrowers. I've driven a lunar rover. I have, yes, that is me on top of 2 horses at the same time. I did not know I was going to have to do that until a very stern circus woman told me I was getting up on the horse, and then I had to do it. So that's kind of TV. You don't really know what you're doing until someone tells you you're about to do it. There was one guy, I don't know, can you see the rope right there? That was the only thing keeping me from falling off 2 horses at the same time. There was a 300-pound dude who was holding the other end of that rope, making sure I didn't fall. I did not trust that guy at all, but I didn't fall, and I was quite proud of myself for not falling. The other thing we do is we tell cool stories. By cool stories, I don't mean like, here's the kind of fun thing I did today. I mean, we tell really good stories, stories that have a beginning, a middle, and end, a conflict, something that is really, really entertaining, something that is things that you need to know or we really want you to connect to emotionally. This is an example of a story from one of the greatest storytellers in the entire country. His name is Boyd Hubert. Anybody ever heard of Boyd by any strange chance? He works at KARE 11 in Minneapolis, and he is by far and away the best storyteller ever. He's won every award you can possibly win. They invented awards to give him. He's that good. So I want to play this for you just to show you what an unbelievable storyteller can do with a very simple story about a high school day that's kind of a ditch day, but kind of not.
It is common near the end of the school for students to cut classes. Not so common for the school principal to encourage him. Today's academic forecast at Detroit Lakes High School is different. T-shirts in the commons, yard tools in the gym.
All right, guys.
And the entire student body
We're out of the troops.
in the stands.
We're going to make a difference today.
800 students skipping class. And not only does the principal approve,
Big day every year.
Josh Olman
Yeah.
was a high school senior 24 years ago
This isn't new to me, no.
when Detroit Lakes Day of Caring started.
When you grow up here your whole life, it's always good to give back, you know?
Now, Jack Mears
There it is.
is a senior on one of 55 teams from his high school, dispatched to 130 sites,
We got one scoop here.
including this one.
I turned 96 in April,
96, a recent heart attack, and just out of the hospital.
every year.
The students have been a godsend for Angie and Barney.
Oh, it's really helpful. I wouldn't have been able to do it. This is a big yard.
No excused absences for senior Ellie Lundy.
No, I'm here. I'm working.
I found a Swedish fish bag and a McFlurry cup.
Nor for Lexus Reisenau. Learning lessons in a ditch.
No, okay.
Just as important
More important.
as those learned
Way more important.
in a classroom.
It was his favorite day.
Bonnie Moe's husband Al couldn't see students like Olivia Pratt,
I like helping people.
who cleaned out his flower beds each year.
My husband was blind.
Al loved being surrounded by them until he died in 2015.
Would you guys like to come and have some brownies?
Now Bonnie bakes for the students just like Al did.
Thank you.
And knows, like Al, the lessons
Thank you.
go
There.
both ways.
Kids today are still good kids.
Kids who need to know math and science, but also benefit from what David Gembolini knows.
We're all part of the same community, so we gotta help each other.
When the work is done, yearbooks
M-O-M.
are waiting.
Oh, okay, here you go.
Somewhere between the basketball team and the Key Club. Students leafing through the pages will find the day they skipped class.
The Dave Caring page from last year.
Skipped class and learned what's important.
I feel really accomplished. Now I can go home and relax knowing that I made a difference today.
Boyd, KARE 11 News,
Yeah.
Detroit Lakes.
Yeah, what I love about that story is that that has literally everything. That's got emotional punch. You know, you've got the neighbor who didn't live to see this story shot. You've got the students who were talking about it. You've got the twist of this is a ditch day, but it's not the ditch day you think it is. It's for a good cause. He's kind of a legend in the business, and honestly, everybody tries to emulate him, and it's not possible. We all just kind of try to be as much Boyd as we possibly can. Again, if you guys are really interested in storytelling, look up Boyd Hooper. He does a series called Land of a Thousand Stories out of Minnesota, and I think he does one of these a week, and he cranks out an unbelievable amount of stories. The other way that we try to do a lot of storytelling is, at least I do, I try to do as much technology as possible. I try to wrap as much technology as I can. Drones, cameras, small cameras. This is a story that I did, and believe me, this is not going to be just like a reel of a whole bunch of stories today. We actually have other stuff to talk about. But this is a story I did a couple of weeks ago that I thought was interesting in terms of storytelling. This was on an AI phone scam. This was, somebody calls up and pretends that they are your relative who's been kidnapped. They need some money. And from a storytelling perspective, that seemed really, really boring to me. So I did not want to do that story. I decided to do something a little different and put a twist on it.
You get this phone call.
Mom, it's me. I'm in trouble.
It's your loved one's voice. They're in trouble. You'd do anything to help them.
They say they won't let me go unless you pay them.
But it's not actually them. It's an AI voice generator. And you're being scammed.
Please help me.
Nancy Cook got a phone call just like it.
I'm a drug smuggler, and I have your daughter and the 4 kids that she was babysitting, and we're going to go to the border, and if you don't do what I say, basically, I'll leave her in a dumpster.
Then he put her daughter on the phone.
It was her voice exactly. She said, Mom, they're gonna ask you for money again. I'm sorry, I really messed up. I'll pay you back. Please give it to them. I was on my cell phone, speaker turned on for 4 hours with this guy while he extracted money from me. It was almost going to be $1,000 total.
Luckily, an employee stopped her money transfer, and she got a text that her daughter was fine.
What's going on, man?
Grandpa,
Yeah.
you do know who this is, right?
Yeah. Are you okay?
I had a terrible car accident.
They're called grandparent scams, and they hit everyone, even a Scottsdale police officer. Scottsdale PD isn't sure if this was an AI or an actor, but it was the same script.
They haven't told Mom anything about it. I'm just very embarrassed. Promise me you'll keep it between us, okay?
When you first called, did you hear how I answered it? Scottsdale Police Department.
The problem is there's no way to tell if it's real or not. There's no watermark, there's no evidence. Nancy couldn't even tell, and she's an expert.
I'm at the Issue Center for Human Artificial Intelligence and Robot Teaming, and we're trying to put a positive spin on AI. Let's make sure that we design and develop AI so that it is positive for human well-being.
Her best advice is to have a password for your real life.
After having experience with this myself, is to use code words if you think it's a family member.
You think you can't fall for it? The entire time you've been listening to me, it hasn't been me. It's been an AI-generated voice the whole time. The whole time. William Pitts, 12 years.
Yeah, I didn't track that at all. That's not my voice, none of that. I cloned my voice and did the entire piece that way, and kind of freaked out my desk mate in doing that. So how do we tell really, really good stories? Planning. A lot of planning. We have to know everything before we go out on a story. You have to know your focus. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you want to get out of the story. You have to know people. You have to know if I ask somebody a question, how are they going to react? I know, and this is a very cynical way of acknowledging this, if I go into a story, I absolutely know the one question in whatever story that I'm doing that I can ask to make that person cry. I know what question I can ask to make them laugh. I know exactly how to get the reaction that I want. And that's from years of knowing people and years of doing this. The other way you plan is you don't drown in tape. And that is, I've never done an interview that is longer than 15 minutes because I go in there knowing what I want to get out of it. Once I get it, I'm done. I don't need to talk to these people for 45 minutes to an hour. That's just 45 minutes to an hour of tape that I have to listen to later on to try to pick out my sound bites. How else do you prepare? Google. The Google. Every time I go out on a story, I have looked to see if anybody else has done the story first. I have Googled the people that I'm talking to. I've Googled the subject. Even if this is something that I'm not interested in and will never care about again, for the next 3 hours, I am an expert in this story. And I have to know more about it than anybody else. That knowledge leaves my head at 6 o'clock in the afternoon for the most part. But that's how I'm preparing for any kind of interview. Anybody watch Hot Ones? The coolest thing about Hot Ones is the questions that this guy asks, and he's finally getting famous for it. His questions are absolutely insane in that the people he's interviewing have no idea where he got this information. That's the kind of question that you really want to ask. You want to ask the deep cut question of something that will get them thinking and get people out of their pat, answer that they have in their head that they think you're going to want to hear. I don't want to hear your answer that you scripted in your head. I want the off-the-cuff answer.
What's special to you about the Jiba Theater Center in Rochester? It seems like that town.
Literally the greatest questions I've ever been asked. Well, seriously, I'm blown away.
So in your latest project, Shineville, you play the role of Patricia Phelps, a mother who moves her dysfunctional family away from the chaos of city living in Brooklyn and towards this creepy haunted mansion in the country. And showrunner Jeff Astroff recently said in an interview that you called him to tell him, "This script is the only thing that's ever been written for me." What was it about the character that gave you such a strong gravitational pull towards the project?
Okay, first of all, is there something behind me that you're reading? Because who can do that? I couldn't tell you that much information about the show ever. That was incredible.
What's the institutional significance of Square One for a young person growing up in Mississauga?
My God, that's deep cut. Square One, man. Oh God, I'm impressed.
I have some ad copy for you, and I'm hoping that we can close out the show today with some throwback Ed Helms commercial narration.
Yeah. You did your research, by the way. You guys some very some sort of deep cut questions here. I'm very impressed. And yeah, not a lot of people know I used to do voiceover for commercials.
Is it true that you blew the audition for The Fly 2 by overcommitting to the Metamorphosis project?
How do you know this? That's cool.
Pound for pound, what would you say is the throwback underground Lizzo rap song that had the hardest bars? Wagila?
So wild. How do you know about that? On spot, man, I didn't know you was a regular.
If you can surprise your interview with the questions, that's pretty damn impressive because they know more about their life than you do. And for you to show up and know something that they did not expect you to know, that's pretty awesome. But every interview starts exactly the same way, especially for me. You're my guinea pig now. You don't know this yet, but you're my guinea pig. You're my new interview. I start every interview the same way. Say and spell your name because I don't want to write it down. Spell it. There's two reasons I do that. One, I don't want to write it down. Two, three reasons. Two, if an intern gets this tape later on, they're not going to know your name. But three, I've already got you talking to me, and I've already got you trying to explain something to me. And I will always start with usually the same question. Why something? Why are you in this class? Because it's fun. What's the best part of the class? Pancakes? Okay, I smelled the pancakes on the way in. The pancakes were pretty awesome. Where do the pancakes come from? Wait a minute. You cook pancakes.
You probably smelled culinary, but every last Friday.
Okay, I like so everybody in the class gets pancakes? This is pretty awesome. I've already gotten 3 bites out of you that I can totally use, and my story is that you have a media teacher who cooks pancakes for you every Friday. That's my story, and I'm done. I've already figured this out. Now all I have to do is talk to him about pancakes, get one more person in here who likes pancakes? Anybody else think the pancakes are the best? You've been talking all the time, so I know you're good. I can talk to you in a heartbeat. You got to give me some sound bites. That's as easy as it is to do these interviews. And it is also incredibly hard because who else picked up on those sound bites when I was talking to him? It just comes from a lot of experience. Yeah, it comes from a lot of experience and a lot of just paying attention to what you want and trying to listen as you're talking to people. That's another huge part of this thing. All right, planning is absolutely everything. I saw this story from a guy named Joe Little in San Diego. He is also one of the greatest one-man bands of all time. He shoots, he writes, he edits, he does everything I do. This story took him 6 months to plan. And it took him 6 months. You'll see why it took him 6 months to plan, because he shot it over a period of 6 months. It's only about a minute long. But without planning, this story does not work.
The rain is usually a visual cue for misery. I like to show this to everyone every time it rains. This is the brutally nasty raw sewage and toxic chemicals that flow from Tijuana here into the Tijuana River Valley and out to Imperial Beach. Smuggler's Gulch usually looks like this. It's sunny mostly here, and the rainwater isn't washing all that toxic sewage out to the beach. And it's the beach that most people want to visit. Even during the winter, we have days like this. But this rain is a buzzkill for anyone who flew from the frozen tundra to the sunny west coast. Even when the rain stops, if the water is still going to be too dirty to go in.
They could hit this skate park crafted by some nebulous dudes in a drainage ditch near the 94.
Actually, you may want to take the wheels off your skateboards first and ride those boards down the Mission Valley where locals always get a little bitter when the San Diego River floods their favorite back entrance to Fashion Valley Mall. Now, for the record, when this road isn't flooded, this entrance is for locals only. Don't tell anyone else this is the fastest way in. Yes, the locals are used to this beautiful Chamber of Commerce weather. It's one of the reasons why people fly to San Diego during the holidays. They can share in our misery then. Most San Diegans have embraced the fact that we are all weather wimps. And every now and then, the weather is not perfect. And the best part is, this doesn't last. The sun will return. In and out of the rain, Joe Little, NBC7.
So just off the top of your head, what did he have to plan out for any of that to work? What's the first thing he had to find? Locations. He had to know a location that was going to flood and then a location that was going to be great the same time, some other time. Yeah. The weather. Yeah, he had to wait until it rained in order to shoot all of the raining spots. What is the most complicated part about any of these wipes that he did, though?
It had to be like perfectly timed for when he was baking to make that transition seem seamless.
Yeah, he had to back time that in his head while he was shooting it. What else with the camera? Yeah. That's the hardest part of this entire thing. He has to know exactly where he put that camera. And 6 months later, he's got to do it again. So he's got to know where the feet are of the tripod exactly. He has to know exactly how high that tripod was, and he has to know exactly the shot that he had framed up 6 months before he shot it. That's an insane level of planning that I have never seen anybody else do before. I've never even tried this. One of these days I might, but that's going to be way down the road. All right, so how else do we do this? With a lot of gadgets and a lot of gear. Oh, let's go backwards. There we go. That's the end of the slides for now. This is all of my gear, basically. Everything on this table. I have a couple more cameras, but everything that I have fits right in this little suitcase. I can take this with me on a plane. I have a little place in my car that I can strap it in. This is my primary camera. It's basically a semi-prosumer camcorder. This comes off, this comes off. It's very small. If I need to, I have a stick mic ready to go. I have a lav mic in there, just like the one I'm wearing. And if you break it down, it becomes this small. It doesn't exactly look very impressive when I'm out there and everybody else has the big shoulder cameras, but my picture looks better. I'm not tired at the end of the day, and I'm not dying of heat, trying to lug this big old camcorder all over the place. I will use any kind of camera that will get me a shot. I'll use this thing. I bought this thing to shoot my daughter playing soccer. I'll totally use this. I have used this quite a few times. I think I've shot the governor with this one. I'll use, anybody ever heard of a DJI? Actually, what is this? This is not an Osmo. It's an Osmo? Osmo something. Anybody seen these? These are the greatest cameras ever. All you gotta do is turn it on, and it's an instant steady cam. Of course, it's gonna lock on me, but there we go. Yeah. Instant steady cam, comes with a wireless mic. No matter what I do, nice little steady shot. Flip it around, I'm shooting my own stand-ups. Very, very easy, very, very simple. And again, this is not anything that you can't get. We don't have like the super secret gear catalog of TV where you can't, pick up your own gear and do exactly what we do. This is the drone that we fly, or at least the drone that I fly. It's a new DJI Air 3. I've only flown it a couple times. I already love it. Again, I think we got it off Amazon. We get a lot of our stuff off Amazon. There's no warehouse of broadcast gear. It's really, really easy and really, really simple to do. My theory is if it's complicated, then I'm going to miss my shot. Does anybody know what the greatest camera in the world is? Anybody? Take a guess.
iPhone.
Yes. Why?
Shoot some 4K.
It's always in your pocket. It's the camera that you always have ready for you whenever anything happens. If something happens right now, I'm probably not going to grab that. I'm whipping my phone out of my pocket and I'm hitting record and I'm going with it. If I am out just normally, I don't have my gear. I'm not towing this around with me. I've got my iPhone in my pocket. The greatest camera in the world is the one that you have available to you right now. And that's probably going to be your iPhone. Questions so far? Questions about gear, anything I've said? Since we're about halfway through. No? Anybody? You're all awake. That's good. I see eyes. That's awesome. Yes?
So earlier you talked about how planning is everything. shots. How much of the things do you improvise, if at all, or is everything just planned out? Even a script, anything?
The scripts are written, and we'll get to writing in a second. Scripts are definitely written before the package happens. I will basically ad-lib all of my stand-ups. So if I'm out there and I'm shooting myself doing an intro or doing a bridge stand-up, something that actually will appear in the story, that's ad-libbed, but at least outlined in my head. So I know about what I need to say to get from one part of the story to the other, or to introduce the story, I know about what I need to say. I've never, ever in my entire life scripted an interview question. I don't like it. It kind of trips me up. It makes me feel like I'm locked into too many questions, and I don't like doing it. So that's something that is always ad-libbed, and I will never write a question down. It also helps me whenever a PR person's like, can you send me questions that you're going to ask my guy? I'm like, no, I can't. Number one, you're not getting off that easy. Number two, I just don't have the time to think like that. So no, I'm not going to write it down. Anybody else? Yes.
Did you at a certain point write it down?
Questions?
Like, did you at a certain point write those questions down, or has it taken you time to evolve into that guy who doesn't have to write his questions down, or has it always come naturally to you?
No, I have never written my questions down, even when I was doing print. Let me rephrase that. I've probably done it once and didn't like it and just never went back to it again. I always kind of know what I need to ask. I know the point of the interview, and I know kind of how to get them there. And even when I was first starting out, you kind of go into the interview knowing the general direction you're going to go into. You know why you're talking to somebody. Like if I'm going to go talk to somebody who drives a truck, it's because I'm doing a story on truck drivers. I'm definitely going to ask them about what it's like to drive the truck. From there, it's their answers that are going to drive my follow-up questions. So I know the general direction that I'm going to go. They kind of dictate the interview as to where it goes from there. So at one point I probably did. I think probably what happened was I asked the questions that I'd written down on a piece of paper, got back and went, I don't have any of the questions I actually needed and any of the answers that I actually needed to get out of this, because the questions that I wrote down, while they were probably great, didn't get me the sound bites or the interview responses that I needed to get.
So then when it comes down to planning, since you really aren't planning for questions per se, what specifics then are you researching then before you get up to there? Or what kind of planning then has to go into just like that kind of an interview?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of research before I go down to interview anybody. I need to know what kind of position they have, what their job is, what kind of knowledge they have ahead of time. Before I agree to interview absolutely anybody, I have to make sure that they are indeed the person that I really need to talk to. I am not trying to interview some rando that doesn't know anything about what I'm talking about. I need to know ahead of time, based on, like I said, the Google, based on whatever PR person's hooking me up with the interview, anything like that, whether or not this is actually the person I need to talk to. That's where most of the research and the planning comes into. And then also, again, knowing where they're going to fit in this story. They can be an expert, they can be color, they can be the emotional interview, whatever. But knowing where they fit in that also helps drive the questions. If it's an emotional interview, I'm not going to ask them the who, what, where, when, and why. Well, I'm going to ask them the why, but not the who, what, where, when. I've got those details. I need to ask them why and how, basically how they feel, even though I hate that question. But.
And I would just imagine then from the standpoint of knowing when they're going to laugh, knowing how to make them cry, all of those things really have to do with your eye contact, right, and your body language. And so obviously having your questions in your head ahead of time in that research, then it allows you the freedom to never lose them.
Yeah, that is true. If I'm doing an interview, I'm going to be looking at you guys the whole time, because if I look down, I lost you already, because I've got camera pointed, I've got probably 3 cameras pointed at your head. I've got a big bright light shining directly in your face. I've got another one over here. It's awkward because people don't do this normally unless you're in the business, and then you still think it's weird. And then I'm standing in front of you asking you questions about something you probably don't want to talk about. A loved one who died in a car crash. I don't know. What you did with the money if you're a public official. Whatever. You don't want to probably be talking to me. But the second I look away to try and find out what I'm doing next, I've lost that interview. They got to be looking at me the whole time, or they're going to be freaked out by all the things that are happening around them. They're going to lose their train of thought, and I'm not going to get anything good out of them. So, yeah, that's the other reason, is not to lose eye contact with them. I don't like doing that at all. So. Anybody else? Yeah.
So how do you handle pressure working in such a fast-paced environment?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? How do you handle the pressure of working in the fast-paced news environment? Everybody, I guess, handles it in a different way. We have probably less deadline pressure than some stations do, which is really nice. But you kind of get ramped up into it a little bit. College helps you prepare, I think, for the daily turn. You just kind of learn by doing. You get faster at it, and you know your limits. I've set time limits for myself. I start my day at 9:30 with a morning meeting, and I know that I have to have everything shot, and I need to be sitting at my computer, whether it's in my car, which it usually is, or at my desk, logging and writing no later than 3 o'clock. I give myself, for a 5 o'clock story, I give myself 2 hours to put it all together. And that's in case something happens, something goes wrong, I don't know what I'm gonna write, I get stuck, I get writer's block, whatever. I give myself 2 hours to put it all together. That has probably helped me more than anything else in how to deal with it. And I've made that a hard and fast rule. Like, if 3 o'clock comes around, that's it. I'm not looking for any more interviews that are going to come through at 4 o'clock for a 5 o'clock story, because I know I won't make deadline on it. So I've kind of set my own limits, but also over the years you kind of ramp up into what you think is possible. And that also helps because you start off in a small market where the expectations are not that high, and then you kind of build yourself up to Phoenix, LA, New York, where expectations are very high. Yeah.
With so much to risk and a missed deadline, it seems like at 3 o'clock and you have a 5 o'clock show, I guess maybe because of the pace of high school life and doing things like this, it's like, I'll give a project and we have 5 days. It doesn't seem like, that is not even close to the training that they need to be receiving, is it? What would be good training to get them prepared for something like that fast paced? You're talking about shooting it, writing it, shooting it, doing that before 3, editing it before 5, and having that to somebody so that they can play it and find it.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, try and cut, because you guys have, what, 5 days to put something together?
Let's just say.
Yeah, I would cut a day off it and go to 4. Get comfortable with 4, cut a day off and go to 3. Cut a day off and go to 2. What obviously plays against you guys is this is not your full-time job. Like, I have literally nothing else to do other than try to get something on TV at 5 o'clock. But I would try to cut down the amount of time. Get stuff done early if you can. If you find that you can consistently get your stuff done early, you're on the right track. It also helps when you get to college that they kind of do that for you. It's a daily turn at that point. Pressure's a little less, but at the end of the day, in any rundown on any show, there's still 2 minutes of black if I don't make my slot. There's a hole in the show if I don't make it. They got to fill it with something. They'd rather it be me, but if I don't tell them that I'm going to miss slot, we're just going to black, and I'm going to have 2 anchors that don't know what they're going to talk about for 2 minutes, which is never good. No, no. I make it a point never to miss slot, even if what I put on there is not the best product in the world. I will always make slot. Sometimes we have reporters that miss slot, even now, even in Phoenix. But you don't want that to happen. It would be very, very bad for you in professional TV if you missed slot. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Tell people what's happening. The third thing that we do, and we're going to go to writing and talking. So every story is exactly the same. Someone wants something, but something happened, so something. Think of every story you've ever seen or every story you've ever read. It always follows this exact formula. No matter what. Someone wants something, but something happened. Conflict, so something. Solution. That's character, conflict, a need, and an action, all based into one. But every story is also different because there's a million ways to tell that story. There's probably more than a million ways to tell that story. You can develop your own visual style on how to tell that story as well. You can figure out how you like to shoot things, how you like to frame interviews, how you like to light things, how you like to light B-roll, how you like to get your shots. I know a lot of people that like to do, we call it NPPA style. It's kind of annoying to me, frankly, but this foreground, background framing, they'll do it in almost every shot. Like they'll set up a camera right here, shoot you, and put this water bottle right in the front. Yeah, just like that. Buc-ee's is great. Yeah. And shoot it just like that. That's a visual style to develop. You can do that and change exactly how you tell the story. Find out what you like and look for the details. That's the easiest way to kind of start a story, is look for a detail. And frankly, it's why we get paid to do what we do, is we look for the details that everybody else would miss if they were looking at the exact same situation. So I try to focus on the details when I'm shooting my B-roll, and that usually becomes the start of the story, especially if I get stuck. Like if I'm telling a story about the classroom, that Buc-ee's logo right there on that cup, that's definitely making it in, and that's probably gonna be one of my close-ups, because I'm gonna have to ask about where you found a Buc-ee's cup in Arizona when we don't have one. So that's probably where I'm gonna go for that. But it's all about the details and all about finding something that will make people watch your story when, if they were there, they could have seen it. What makes your story different? All right, write like you talk. That is the biggest thing that we try to teach everybody coming out of high school, coming out of college, because everybody has the same idea of what news people do, which is stand there with a stick mic, and we talk very formally, and we are, the experts in all of our subject matter, and we are very, very formal and very boring. We try not to do that. Try to write like you talk. This is an actual script that I grabbed out of our rundown. Try and read that. Phoenix Water Services Department introduced these incentives to promote sustainable water use and conservation, and at the same time encourage people to use high efficiency appliances and fixtures. What? What did that even mean? Exactly, I have no idea. I rewrote it. City of Phoenix wants you to conserve more water and it's willing to pay you to do it. That's the first line. They want you to buy energy efficient appliances, things like faucets, toilets that use less water. It'll save you water, save you money too. The city says every drop counts. And Water Director Troy Hayes says the city's using the price of water to change how much you use. That's something they haven't done in decades. It's shorter, it's simpler, it makes sense. People actually know what it means. If you write like you actually talk to somebody else, it's way more conversational. It's way more easy to listen to, is probably the best way to phrase it. Talk like a human, that's the other thing. How many interviews with police on the scene of a crime have you ever seen on TV? A lot? Have any of them ever been like comfortable? Because they don't come across comfortable. Listen to this.
There were some individuals who were believed to be fleeing from the scene, but we just don't have a description on them or any possible vehicles they might have been involved in.
Somebody showed up, there was an altercation that escalated into a shooting. Many rounds were shot into this crowd of people as everyone fled the area.
I like both of those guys, but they need to learn how to not talk like a cop and talk like an actual person. Some individuals, what's another way to say some individuals? People, it's easy. Believed to have been fleeing.
Ran away.
They ran away, yes, exactly. There was an altercation that escalated into a shooting. How do we say that more simple?
Gun violence.
There was a fight and somebody pulled out a gun. It's that easy. As everyone fled the area. Everyone ran away. Yes. That's what talking like a human means, and that's how you write like you talk. All right, we're going to do one more thing, and then I'm going to switch over to a different system here. This is identifying a soundbite. This is Paul Penzone, the sheriff of Maricopa County. He held a press conference the other day to say that he was not running for re-election. I'm not going to play this whole thing, but when you hear a soundbite, when you hear the soundbite that you would want to use and pick out of this press conference, raise your hand. There's no wrong answer, by the way.
It's tough being sheriff. And I tell everybody, it's not tough to do their job. We make decisions that probably have a bigger impact in a lot of ways on people when you're in law enforcement, but the job itself is a privilege. And I have this privilege because I have an incredible family. My wife back there, who really is the inspiration for why I pursue this office. We have two boys who have tolerated a ton and been pillars. And I'm very thankful that I've had this opportunity, which obviously kind of tips the hand as to where I'm going with this. I have decided that I will not pursue a third term, not because I leave this office in any way, shape, or form disappointed or anything like that. It has all been incredible. It is the greatest privilege and blessing that anyone could ask for, especially in a profession like this. I've worked with consummate professionals. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has spoken to men and women who are good people, deserving of recognition for their sacrifice. I think there was a cloud over this office for a long time, and I don't pretend like I was suddenly that sunshine that came out through the clouds, it was really them. All I had to do was move the cloud out of the way so you guys could see them. But I also recognize.
I'll stop that one right there. I saw a bunch of hands go over in a lot of different places. Why did you pick the one you picked?
It just seemed like he was talking about that one more than the other stuff. Like he was like just going, and there wasn't really like he was at the beginning. He was pausing a lot, and it seemed like he wasn't really sure what to say there. But then he really like knew what he was saying towards that part, and like I could understand him a lot more. And he was talking at a good pace, and he had good volume. So.
Yeah. Somebody back there raised a hand. I don't remember which one it was though. Yeah. Which one? Why did you pick yours?
I picked mine because it was sort of like the inspiration for doing his job. He said that his wife was like the main motivation for him doing his job. And the fact that he wasn't running for anymore, that shows a shift in motivation for, you know, doing what he's doing.
Yeah, it was an emotional soundbite.
Yeah.
It was really good. Anybody, somebody, there was one more that I saw, but I can't remember who it was. Who else raised their hand at some point? Somebody? I know somebody did. But any one of those bites absolutely works. That's probably the hardest thing to I guess, figure out is any one of those sound bites works depending on what you want. The hardest part is to throw out the rest of the interview when you got it. All of that was good. You didn't need all of it. Like if I'm telling the story about him not running for sheriff again, I have to learn what I got to cut. I'm not necessarily going to, if I'm going off of his political ambitions, maybe I don't use his family. Maybe I don't use I'm not the greatest sheriff in the world. All I had to do was get out of the way. But I will use the family. It's all an exercise in throwing out what you don't need and using what helps you propel the story forward. That thing went on for like 35 minutes. There's no way I'm going to use it all. If I was doing that story, I'd use probably 4 sound bites out of him and be done. The hard part is finding out which of those sound bites you want to use. Yeah?
Is part of your process with that to transcribe what he said now so you can read it, or are you just going to just keep playing it back and then maybe take a time code thing to make that decision? That's got to be difficult.
I'll do a time code thing, but most of the time when I'm there, I will actually mark it down while I'm listening to it because I can hear the soundbite. I mean, you all heard the soundbite. You knew when you heard it which soundbite you wanted to use. I will write down the time code on my photographer's camera or my camera, depending on if I have one, which I usually don't. I'll just mark the time code down. When I go back in there, I'm skipping everything else. I'm not listening to it again because I don't have an hour to listen to an hour-long press conference. I'm going to skip right to where I marked it down the first time. I'm going to get that bite, cut it out, put it on the timeline, and then skip to my next one. So I'm kind of logging as I'm hearing it. That's the easiest way to do it in a press conference situation like that. There are a bunch of other ways to do it. If you have a 15-minute interview and you were so focused on the interview that you didn't really pay attention to what was going on in your head and logging it sort of in your head. Anybody use Otter? Maybe, sort of, otter.ai. Greatest service of all time. You can take an audio file of any piece of video or a Zoom meeting or whatever else, import it into Otter. It will transcribe the entire thing for you with time codes. It's the greatest thing we've ever discovered. Every single reporter in my station uses this thing, either to transcribe the interview or to transcribe the bites later on. Because we do have to type word for word exactly what they say for closed captioning, for scripting, for whatever else. Otter does it for you and probably cuts a good 20 to 25 minutes out of my workflow, which is fantastic. It's free, which is also great. So yeah, you could record this entire lecture, upload it to Otter, and you'd have every single word with time codes where everything was in this entire thing, and all you have to do is go back, find the time, cut out the bytes, you're done. So it's a really, really good service. And again, free.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is it a standard, you were saying that you went to Compact?
Yeah.
Is it a standard thing that they teach there to transcribe it first and then put it into a form, or is that their standard procedure?
Yeah. You definitely want to, it makes it a lot easier to be able to have the sound bites and move them around later on. You definitely want to transcribe whatever you have. You don't have to transcribe the whole thing, but yeah, you want to know word for word what the bite is before you can put it in there. Yeah, lets you go directly to it wherever it is in that clip. So, any more questions so far? Yeah.
So to become a news reporter, is there any certification you have to meet, maybe you need a certain type of degree or?
So my degree is in, well, this is because I'm old, they changed the name of it. My degree was in broadcasting, which is not a thing anymore. Now I believe it is just, I think it's just a journalism degree, but I'm not totally sure about that. You can focus on print, radio, TV, whatever else. But yeah, basically the degree is enough. Other than that, there's no certification. Grad school's great. Grad school's not going to get you the job any more than anybody else will. It's not going to get you any more money either, because there's not a lot of that. But grad school is always good if you want to learn more, or if you're looking to teach later on, that's great. I actually don't know any reporters that have master's degrees that I know of, but it's always an option if you want to. But yeah, just regular journalism degree will get you out of that. And honestly, some people I know don't even have journalism degrees. They went to school for English, history. I think a reporter we used to have, Josh, I'm pretty sure he went for, God, he might have gone for gender studies. I'm not really sure what he had, but yeah, it's not necessarily primarily the degree. It's also what you can do, what you know, and how fast you can adapt. I highly recommend the degree, and also ASU, go Devils. Not with A, because we'll talk about that. Yeah. Anybody else? All right, I want to switch to one more thing here. We got just a couple of minutes before. Unfortunately, I got to go over here for this. Is that going to pop up? There we go. All right, I wanted to show you guys this. This is the actual rundown that we are going to use today. So when I get done with you guys, I go back to the station and I have to anchor 2 cut-ins and a 1 o'clock half-hour show. This is the rundown for our 12:22 cut-in as of today. It's very hard to read, and honestly, they just kind of started me anchoring a couple of months ago. Some of these I'm not even sure what the codes are. But I know that whenever I get these rundowns, I have to go in and I have to rewrite some of these scripts. Like, for starters, they put the wrong anchor. I'm not sure I'm on, but they'll change that later on. So what I'll do is I will go in here and I will literally read this out loud to myself to see if I'm going to stumble over anything. Right now, the Coconino County Sheriff's Office is asking for your help to find a missing woman. This is Chelsea Grimm. She was last seen September 28th in Williams. We'll leave the Arizona in because some people may not know where Williams is. We're told Grimm was traveling from San Diego to Connecticut with her pet bearded dragon. Okay, that was unexpected. With her pet bearded dragon. Hunters found her car north of Ash Fork, but Grimm was gone and hasn't been seen. If you recognize her or think you've seen her, call the Coconino County Sheriff's Office. Okay, that one's fine. We can keep going to the next script. So this is one of the things as an anchor, and you guys do this for your shows, that you have to do. You got to go through, especially if you're not writing at all. You got to go through and rewrite some things to see if you can actually say them correctly. Some of these are not in here yet. Let's see, Carrie Lake. There we go. This one probably has not been completely rewritten yet. Today, former Republican candidate for governor Carrie Lake is expected to officially announce her run for U.S. Senate. All right, that's fine. That announcement will likely come at a rally scheduled for tonight. Lake's leading challenger for the Republican nomination is Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb. Last week, Lamb told 12 News that Lake's announcement won't drive him out of the primary. Democratic Representative Ruben Gallego is also running for the seat. Just to be more clear, I'm adding Senate seat so we know what seat we're talking about. And we don't know yet. That I just stumbled over, so I'm not doing that one. We don't know right now if, that's just easier for me to flow. We don't know right now if Independent Senator Kirsten Sinema, with a space in there, will run for re-election. So this means, we could see a 3-way Senate race next November. All right, that's done. Save that. Heads up if you're traveling through Sky Harbor this week. SkyTrain will be closing for maintenance tomorrow night from 10:30 until 5 a.m. Thursday morning. That seems redundant. AM is in the morning, always. So I'm taking that out. However, an airport shuttle will be available to pick up and drop off passengers from terminals, parking lots, and rental car locations every 20 minutes while the SkyTrain isn't operating. Sounds weird to me. I could say is closed and get the exact same thing. Keep this in mind if you have a late night flight or early morning departure. Late night flight is a really hard thing for me to say. I'm going to call it a red eye or an early morning departure. Actually, I'm going to change that too. Early morning flight. Okay, so there's SkyTrain, record-breaking energy use. After summer record-breaking temperatures, APS says customers used more energy this July than ever before. Energy use peaked July 15th when APS customers used more than 8,000 megawatts during a single hour. The previous record set in 2020 was more than 7,600 megawatts. And get this, APS says we broke that 2020 record 18 times this summer, all on days where temperatures were well over 110 degrees. On a more positive note, APS says monsoon storms caused less damage this year. This is where I can add things that will be more like me, probably because we didn't have that many of them. They had to replace, it's actually fewer power poles. I'm a stickler for that. So that's what I will do every single time I have to go in here for these scripts. You see how you just kind of rewrite them to be more you, more, I don't know, easier to say. Some of those things that I change, you guys may read them and you're like, why did you change that? It's because I get tongue-tied on random words. That's just why you change some things up. Some things I try to make more clear. Sometimes I try to, just make it sound a little better. Some of those will probably honestly get rewritten because it's 10 o'clock and they don't go on the air for another 2.5 hours. But that's our rundown system. Give you a really quick, as I understand it anyway, rundown of what all of this means. So this is a story slug. This is what we're actually going to be reading about. Kind of gives you an idea of what it is. Trisha Whip. That's kind of code for, that's something that Trisha already recorded. It's already in the can. She's not live. It's a package that I'm tossing to. These are camera shots. Some of these mean what you think they are. Some of them, I honestly have no idea what they mean. I think, let me see. Desk LC, that's a regular shot of me sitting at a desk. SOT, that means sound on tape. That's just a package that's recorded. Tall box, don't ask me what that is. That's a producer thing. I have no idea. VO full, that means that I'm off camera at that point and it's just video playing on TV and I'm talking over it. All of this, not a clue. This is some director stuff that I don't have to pay attention to. That should all say me at some point. Story status, whenever it's done and written and ready to go, somebody will put the okay in there. And then there's the back time, which is what time should it be when this is all done? Which honestly is probably the hardest part of anchoring a show, is when you get all the way done to the end of your show and they go, okay, you have 30 seconds left. And it went, oh, I shouldn't have read that fast. What am I going to talk about for 30 seconds? So usually they have some backup stories in there to kind of eat some time. So yeah, that's probably the biggest part of writing and rewriting when it comes to anchoring. Questions, because we have 7 minutes left. We are perfectly timed for questions, especially questions out of this room.
I'm looking for those.
While he's looking, anybody else in here? Yeah. In terms of like the psychology of knowing like interviews and people like that? Yeah, there's a lot of that. It's not something that you're necessarily taught. It's just kind of things you pick up. Just by repetition and experience, and I'm sure you could look into it and learn it. I do know a lot of people that are journalism majors with like psychology minors, and that honestly helps quite a bit. I would recommend that if you're definitely interested in it. But yeah.
I was wondering if you could do like a quick little story on the Buc-ee's Cup.
Quick little story on the Buc-ee's Cup? Well, tell me about the Buc-ee's Cup, first of all.
It's from a gas station. I mean, it's a great little cup. It's red. Has a little Buc-ee's logo on it.
Where did it, okay, how did you, wait, yours? It's yours, right?
I know.
Okay. When did you ever go to a Buc-ee's?
This summer.
This summer? Where was it? Okay, anybody know what a Buc-ee's is who hasn't been to Texas? Buc-ee's is like a Walmart if a Walmart was a gas station. It's the wildest store of all time.
You ever had beaver nuggets?
No, no, I have not. I'm going to Buc-ee's in I don't know how long. Honestly, if I was going to write the story, I would probably frame it with a close-up shot of the logo, and I would probably start off the story as something like, how in Arizona did a cop from Texas make it 1,100 or however many miles it was to get to Peoria, Arizona, sitting in the front row of a school filled with people who have no idea what it means. And then I would go from there. And then I would get a whole bunch of people who were like, what the hell hell is a Buc-ee's? You know, why is it a beaver? I don't know why it's a beaver. I'd probably have to Google it and look it up. But yeah, that's how I would start a story on Buc-ee's off the top of my head. All right, questions in the back.
I noticed that on your reel, like the more creative the story opens, the more interested I was in like following it. Is there like bonus points in the industry for starting stuff a cool way, getting on a bike
Yes,
and running it?
yes, and that the bonus points of that is that people will actually watch what you do. So let me give you an example. How many of you guys have actually ever watched the news on TV, not online? Like half of you? Exactly. How many of you ever like seen a news story pop up on an Instagram feed or something else and watched it that way? A lot more, exactly. We are not, well, we are in the business of a regular newscast. We are far more in the business of getting people to watch what we do. Some people for a long time thought that that was a dirty word, to be creative and catch your eye and all of that. I think anything that I can do to make you pay attention to the single point that I'm trying to make in a story or the single nugget that I want you to learn out of a story, I will absolutely do it. I will be as creative as humanly possible. If that makes the story go viral, great. If that makes a lot more people share it, great. But for the most part, I need to catch your eye in a situation where you are not paying attention. Because most people, if they have the news on, they are doing 5 other things. They're cooking dinner, they are trying to wrangle their screaming 9-year-old or 8-year-old or whatever, and they are not paying attention to the news. But if I can get you something right off the top of that package that makes you stop what you're doing and watch the TV for a little while, then I've accomplished my goal. So yeah, that's why I try to be as creative as possible. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you like always see yourself in this position, or did you just think, okay, temporary thing?
I thought I would do print, honestly. I never thought I would do TV. I had this weird idea that I would try doing radio because I figured that radio is print, just spoken, and it's kind of not, but it kind of is. And then just add pictures and you get TV. Honestly, when I was in college, I was doing radio and I thought that was what I would do. And then I just took a flyer and was like, you know what, I'll try TV. What the hell? If I get a job out of it at the end of this, that's great. Otherwise, I've got the radio resume. And I got 2 job offers before I graduated. So yeah, never looked back. And I've just been doing TV ever since. So honestly, no, I did not think I'd be doing TV at all.
Was it hard to get into those positions? Or well, you said you already had like pretty much entry from JT, but like to radio and stuff like that. Was it hard? Or?
Yeah. It's not easy. There are a lot of people that want to do this still, and there are not a lot of jobs. And it is very, very difficult, especially with downsizing and things like that. It's very difficult to get into. You have to, and this is something that every journalism school professor will tell you right off the top, you have to be willing to go anywhere for your first job and get paid anything, and it will probably not be very much. My first job was in 2005. And I was in, anybody know Washington State at all? You know where Pasco is by any strange chance? Okay, you do, oh my God, that's incredible. I was in Pasco, Washington from 2005 to 2007, my first job. I was making $18,500 a year. Yeah, I guarantee half of you have cars that cost more than that. So 18.5 was my first job, making nothing. But the entire point is, you also don't have the pressure of being in a major market when you inevitably screw up, which is even better. So your goal is to get out of there as soon as possible and get into something better, assuming you stick with it. That's also kind of how people get weeded out of this. You know, you have to really, really love this job in order to make $18,000 for 2 years and try to get out of it. If you don't love it, it isn't worth it. But you really have to love this job to do it. So. Any more in the back? Go for it.
I'll just say, we haven't had any questions on that. So I will just say, you know, can we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming awards banquet coming up? We have the Emmy Awards coming around the corner.
Yes, I am on the Emmy board, so I am required to be there. Yes, but I am nominated for 3. Yes, hold your applause. Please. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm on the board, so yes, I will absolutely be there at the Emmys. Did you guys win? You guys won some student Emmys, right?
Yes, yeah, we won one last year and a couple of years prior to that.
Yeah, this year or no?
Yeah, we did win one this year for animation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys were there, I was the one taking pictures in the back. So
Oh, no,
that's
you back
that's
there.
me.
Okay, perfect. And
Yeah.
then last year we had students on the stage. They were our Centennial students actually handing out the photo Oscar or Emmys to
Oh, nice.
for the professional at the professional meet. But we've
Okay.
been asked to do it again. Actually, Jessica just emailed me, so we
Nice. Yeah, you will absolutely see me there.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So do you like TikTok?
I do not have TikTok because I'm 41 years old and I would be kicked off TikTok for being 41.
This guy, he's like on the news, he's like an anchor and he's like a clever. And then you see like he speaks in slang words or like a dance, like gritty or like something like that. Is that seen as like unprofessional or is that?
No, because he's a weatherman and it's expected. Like you get to do whatever you want if you're weather, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Like it was like most of the stuff it was like him going from like the dress to the weather and he would do this.
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. I mean, if he's a weather guy, absolutely do it.
I didn't know if that was like seen as unprofessional.
No, but there is a line, honestly. I mean, on Friday, I was at Greek Fest in North Phoenix, and I was there with, anybody know Corey McCloskey from 10? He's been doing the weather for like ever. And I'm doing, I'm learning how to make flaming cheese. I'm learning how to make a gyro. I'm doing all this stuff. They give me a shot of ouzo to take on air, which, yeah, I did. But, I'm doing my thing as far as I'm going to go. But then I turn around and I see Corey, and he is dressed up in full traditional Greek costume. And I'm like, I can't pull that. I can't get away with that. Like, you're the weather guy. I totally get it. You're the guy that does this for a living. I totally get it. You can do it. I cannot pull that off. So, yeah, there is a line, especially because I have to do other stuff later on.
If you like really want to mess around,
You wouldn't really want to mess around and be the sports guy. Because, yeah, sports and weather, they get to have all the fun. Like, what's the worst that happens on a weather day? Yeah, tornado, hurricane, that's when it gets hard. What's the worst that happens on a sports day? Your team loses. All right. You still got to travel with the team. You still had a really good day. And you can be as fun as you want to be. So, yeah. Yeah, sports anchors get to have all the fun.
Well, we want to be respectful of your time, and so when can we watch you on the show?
Well, today, 1 o'clock. But all you guys are in school, so probably not. Usually in the 5 o'clock show or the 6 o'clock show or the 4 o'clock show. I'm usually 4, 5, or 6. It just depends on the day. So I'm all over the place. For the next 2 weeks, I'm at 4, doing random live shots of all kinds of different places. So if the Diamondbacks win tomorrow, then I will be at Oktoberfest on Thursday at 4 o'clock. And I will be at my absolute least favorite live shot on Friday, which is going to be Fear Farm. I really don't want to go because I hate haunted houses, but I'm going to do it.
You want his job. You want his job. You want to be able to travel and do that right in your own places. You go
It's going to be fun. Yes. It better not be canceled because the D-backs have to play Thursday. I don't get to go, and that's going to annoy me very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Yeah. The way it's working out is we don't have enough photographers to do all the live shots that we want to do. So if the Diamondbacks win on Wednesday, then we don't have to be live at the stadium on Thursday. So I get a photographer freed up to come do my live shot. So if we win, then I get to go to Oktoberfest. If we lose, I don't get to go to Oktoberfest. I wish. I've been pushing for that too. Like, let me go hang out with the sports guys. And they're like, no, we need you to work. So. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very good. That's awesome. Perfect.
Close that
you
out.
guys, we can head over to our room, and then I'll help you get some things figured out.
There we go.